Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Play the Journeyman Project 2, Buried in Time. Alright, let's finally go to the last time zone here, and let's actually read the briefing now. Chichen Itza, sometime around 1000 AD, the ancient Mayan civilization of the Yucatan Peninsula began to die out for reasons yet unknown. Also around this time, the Mayan capital of Chichen Itza played host to newcomers in the form of the Toltecs, a culture closely related to the Aztecs. No one knows for sure whether the Toltecs invaded the Mayans at Chichen Itza, or if migrating survivors of their own dying culture were simply allowed to settle there. Your mission is to observe the resident culture and gather information that will lead to a definitive answer to this question. Warning, there will be a human presence in this environment. Gather footage from a safe distance and avoid being seen. Your destination coordinates have been scanned and cleared. If you say so, Chief. Now, having said that, considering we've already been here technically at the very start, so we knew at least this part was safe. But what's not safe is if we walk to the edge of these temples. Warning, human presence detected 500 meters ahead. Well, I'll see about that. Probably one of the quote-unquote best deaths you can have. Yeah. Look at that. Reality distortion wave detected. Point of origin, origination, 820, 1050 AD. It's not even a death, technically, and that says cause of death, but blatantly disregarding warnings that he was approaching primitive peoples, Agent 5 proceeded into a populated area of Chichen Itza. Upon seeing such a straying being, the natives immediately dropped to their knees in homage, in homage to the god that came from the pyramid. Agent 5 decided to stay a while. The only problem is that wouldn't really work though, right? Because wouldn't the TSA detect the wave and then jump to that point to try to see what it was, and then you'd get busted? But that point aside, we became a god. So that's probably the best death, quote unquote, that we're going to get in this game. But let's go ahead and not mess up history this time. Alright, this time we'll stay away from the natives.
That huge pyramid is the Castillo. It's dedicated to Kukulkan, who was the Mayan equivalent of the Aztec serpent god Quetzalcoatl. The structure behind it is the Temple of the Warriors. An interesting thing about El Castillo is that it was built on top of a smaller, older pyramid. In fact, some of the other Mayan pyramids have been built over the previous pyramid as many as 6 times, with the old temples still remaining underneath. I would guess that we're standing on the High Priest's grave pyramid. Historians have theorized that before it was a tomb, it was used for some other ceremonial purpose. Ah, the pelota field. The Maya played a game which was kind of a cross between basketball and soccer. Without using their hands or feet, they'd have to knock a hard rubber ball through a slightly larger stone hoop as high as 30 feet off the ground. No such thing as sore losers, mainly because the losers were decapitated.
Oh wow, that's kind of extreme. Extreme sports!
Overlooking the ball court is the Temple of the Jaguars, which also function as box seats for the royalty.
Yes, they can get a nice view of the beheading.
That circular building is the Caracol, which means snail. The Maya built it as an astronomical observatory. They'd line up the sun and moon through rectangular slits in its walls to identify important days like the summer and winter solstices. Behind the observatory is the Casa de las Monjas, or nunnery.
It basically says the human presence every time you look at any of these ways to go.
This is a little hard to see, but I think it's a depiction of a ceremony. It looks like a priest or supplicant is making an offering to a god. Those are Mayan hieroglyphs. They had a pretty sophisticated pictograph writing system. Unfortunately, my Mayan's a little rusty right now.
Well, what good are you then, Arthur? I'm sorry, Arthur. You're fine.
That square building over there is the Casa Colorada. Historians believe it was the house of the high priest.
I will do the translate chip in just a sec.
That's a chalk mule. They were pretty common in Chichen Itza. Generally, if you wanted to be accepted by the gods, you'd place an offering in the chalk mule's hands. I've only seen pictures of them facing away from the temple, though. I wonder why this one's facing inward. I think this relief is depicting a lower priest or supplicant to the priesthood making an offering to the water god. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that symbol represents a cave inside a mountain. The Toltecs believe that the underworld was entered through a cave.
Let's go ahead and do some translating now. Libations must be made to the lords of the night to gain passage into the realms of the underworld. A supplicant must prove his worth by passing the trials of the underworld.
Gage, look at this. This is a representation of one of the 9 trials of the underworld. That's definitely Tezcatlipoca, the Toltec god of war. The legend says that when a person died, their soul would have to travel through 8 levels of the underworld en route to the Deadland. On each one, they'd have to pass a trial given by the god that ruled that level. After passing all of the trials, they'd be allowed into the Deadland, where they spend eternity without joy or suffering.
Without joy or suffering. An existence of nothingness? Only after passing the trials may a supplicant gain counsel with the gods to pay homage. It also made me realize I said, like, homage. Did I say homage before? Homage, whatever. The name's Dumas. Okay. So now, coming in here...
This is a Mayan ceremonial calendar. The larger disc has 20 month names inscribed in it, and the smaller one numbers the days. When they're spun, they make a month-day combination where they meet. If you do the math, that's 260 different combinations, each of which represent a day of the ceremonial year.
So, lots of combinations.
Historians think that certain days of the ceremonial year were reserved for honoring the gods with human sacrifices, bloodletting, and other fun rainy day activities. Hey, what can you say? I guess the Mayans can be summed up with one simple word: fun.
Yeah, sounds like my idea of fun.
This looks like an ordainment ceremony. That guy with his head lowered is probably a supplicant to the priesthood who's just passed his rite of initiation. It seems like these scenes are showing ceremonies that take place in this temple. It was destroyed long before anyone had a chance to record any of these murals, so we're the very first ones to see what it might have been used for.
And we're gonna be the last, probably.
Considering that the priests are wearing their best jaguar hides, I'd say this scene is depicting a pretty important religious ceremony. This is a list of some sort. I'm not sure what it represents, but each column seems to end with a date.
Well, if we actually pull out the translate biochip now, starting from here, maybe? The holy vessel contains the breath of Itzamna. To touch the holy vessel is to become a vessel of the word of Itzamna. Homage must be paid to the 4 lords of the night before the layman is allowed to touch the holy vessel of ordainment. Was it the Chakmul grants entrance to the underworld only on sacred days? Ah, goddess of birth, 8 water, goddess of rain, purification, maize, wealth, earth, war, fire, death. Now, you'll notice here this one, god of fire, 3 tree. If you recall from what I did when I first came in here, I just did an immediately a quick thing without explaining it. It actually starts off by default on 4 tree, which is why literally to solve this puzzle, you can go up 1 to 3 tree. You go up to 3 tree, and that is one of the days, the god of fire. You can choose any of them. That one is just the most convenient because you literally change the dial once. But of course, if you don't have the translate biochip, it would be pretty hard to guess this. Even with Arthur helping with some of the tidbits, he's like, well, they're dates, but I don't know what they are. Now, maybe you can match up the symbols, but if you have the translation biochip, it's just outright easier to do. So now, let's take a look at the ceramic bowl. There is a blue substance inside this boldly painted ceramic tripod bowl. Now, actually, real quick, what I am going to do is I'm going to make a save. I've already shown doing it correctly. What if we just left it on default? What if we do it on a non-sacred day? I'm sure nothing bad will happen. Or not. Yeah, very similar to the spears, although this one seems a little more gruesome because you got a Mortal Kombat death scene going on down here. That one's like straight through the nose. Oof. Agent 5's death registered at 11:36 a.m. Cause of death: Agent 5 attempted to gain entrance to a Mayan holy place without a proper understanding of their religious beliefs. Tragically, although not surprisingly, his quest ended at the bottom of a spiked pit. The next of kin have been notified. Without Arthur, or without the translation biochip, it would be kind of hard to be able to get down in here. Now, of course, I did it knowing what I needed to do just so I can get that copper, but if you were doing it normally, you'd probably have to do some backtracking until you got him, came back here, then went to Shattuck Yard, and so on and so on. But anyways, let's just go ahead and move on. Alright, let's see. Now, I don't remember if it'll actually hold. Okay, it does hold. It does remember. So now that we have the correct date still on there, we did 3 tree. Ceramic bowl. Now, of course, we already saw that we knew how to get down here, so this is not too unfamiliar, but we didn't really explore it at all, so now we actually will.
I knew that archaeologists found a series of natural caverns underneath this pyramid, but I don't think anyone's ever been able to figure out what they were used for. The Maya believe that the underworld was entered through a cave, so it's a good bet that that's what this place represented to them. Judging from what we've seen, I'd say that this is some sort of proving grounds, probably for supplicants to the priesthood. And considering that their word for the underworld was Sibalba, which literally means place of fright, I'll bet this was no funhouse.
Yeah, definitely don't feel so good in this place.
As I recall, the Mayan heavens in the underworld were usually represented as a 13-step pyramid on top of an upside-down 9-step pyramid, with the earth as a flat plane in between. The 13 gods of the heavens ruled the daytime, and the 9 gods of the underworld the night. That's why they called them the Lords of the Night. Their heavens were pretty exclusive. Only certain people like sacrifice victims and children were let in. The underworld was for everyone else. Anyone that didn't get into heaven would have to make the journey through the 9 levels of the underworld to the Deadland, which was ruled over by the god of death. Well, we're not getting out the way we came in. The opening of that shaft we fell down is at least 4 meters above us. I guess that's the idea. No other way but forward. I just hope there's another way out of here.
Yeah, it's called a spike pit.
That skeleton isn't exactly fresh. They've obviously been using these caverns for a long time. Either that or they left it here for foreshadowing.
Funny enough, though, we can take his head! Skull from cavern. This is the skull of a skeleton found in the natural subterranean caverns below Chichen Itza. Now, why I want this skull, we don't know just yet, but, can we put it back? You can put it back! Kind of silly. Oh, sorry, bud. Here, you can have it back. Ah, I changed my mind. Now, funny enough, the game, if you still have the item in your inventory, like the metal bar, when you went to Farnstein's lab the second time, let's say, and I went backtracking through where we had been, the bar was still gone, because I still had it in my inventory. But technically, we have now consumed the copper medallion. Which is why, since it's no longer in our inventory, we can grab another one. There's no point to it, but I always just grab it because I can. If I was actually here, I would be legit creeped out. It just does not sound fun in here. Now, we have a couple different ways we can go. We're just going to go kind of in the order that I usually do. So we'll start off going off to the right here. This is where you absolutely need your translate biochip. There's a lot to translate down here. So you definitely want it. Now let's go ahead and... let's look at this first. Only those who have conquered their demons are welcomed in the presence of the God of War. Not to be confused with Kratos. So, it looks like there's something here, and I think Arthur might be able to talk about it. Or he might not. I'm a little surprised he doesn't talk even if you zoom in here, even just for a comment. But the whole idea is you have to give some kind of offering. I mean, that's kind of what the thing at the top was talking about, right? Now, I'm going to make a safety save here for a very specific reason. With these, you have to give an offering, but if you're correct, it will do something. If you're incorrect, it will just consume the item. You don't get it back. Now, for some items, you might be able to just go back to that time zone, get it again if it was maybe still necessary. I think you can, maybe not for all of them. It might be possible to botch your game by giving up a key item in the wrong way, or at the wrong offering. And I don't know for 100% sure if you can make it unfinishable. Turn in Dead Man Walking, but we'll just avoid that regardless. So this is the God of War. So of all the things we have in our inventory, well, the bloody arrow seems pretty fitting, right? I mean, there was a war going on basically during that. And it opens up, so we are correct. But you can see it does consume it. We do not have it anymore.
You put your offering in this receptacle, the door closes, and it's taken by someone or something to be judged for its worthiness. I don't believe in magic or the powers of the gods, but it may be possible that there are acolytes living in alcoves within these walls, and all they do is collect the offerings and open the doors if they're good enough.
Well, hard to say for sure. Now, the second you walk in here, it gets kind of loud. For the sake of my sanity and yours, I'm going to turn this down a bit for this small section. So you can still hear it, but it's not overwhelming everything. Now, be very careful with your saves. I made that safety save just in case, but I will go ahead and make another one in here. We only have a couple of things we can look and interact with here. Arthur is here to offer help. Oh, how about that? A skull from entry. This is the skull from the skeleton found in the natural submarine caverns below Chichen Itza. Basically the same description. Let's try clicking these. Ah, it opened up the door here. But it's on a timer. So, if we were to open it, take one of these skulls, and jam it in there, it'll hold it open, because it's a pretty durable skull.
Those spears look easily sharp enough to tear through your suit, but I wouldn't worry about it. Everybody limbo!
Now, to be fair, I was pretty good in Limbo back in, like, middle high school days. Not so much anymore, and I don't think even then I could Limbo underneath that. But let's try opening this one now. Got a lot quieter. Because it stops the spears. So now we can enter. Hopefully those skulls just hold. That would be the worst if they were to just suddenly snap. Now we hit another endpoint here with more spears. But we have more switches. The problem is we do not have any more skulls. If we were to try pressing this one... It may not be as apparent, but that one is for the door back there. But it's already being currently held open, so it didn't do anything. But if we do this one... make a run for it! Not fast enough. The game will not let you through, because you have to stop moving because it's doing something. And you have to always make 2 steps to progress to the next essential, like, checkpoint. One is not enough, and the spears came back in. This is a pretty gruesome death, honestly. Like, this would suck. Agent 5's death registered at 12:10 p.m. Cause of death. While exploring the caverns below Chichen Itza, Agent 5 attempted to pass the Hall of Spears. He figured out how to stop the spears, but overlooked an important aspect of the puzzle. How to keep them stopped. The resulting perforations were fatal. The next of kin have been notified. So, that's not going to work for us. We cannot run through fast enough. Although, honestly, if you really wanted to, you could sprint, Agent 5. You could run faster than that gauge, but the game will not let us. So, we'll have to solve it in another way. So this time, let's do this. That's going to stop the spears. Now here's what we have to do. We need this open, right? Because it opens up the door. We absolutely need the spears to stop or we can't even progress. But we only have 2 skulls. We know up ahead that at least one of them would stop the spears, but it's still on a timer. The other one we technically wouldn't have known exactly what it does yet. What you can do is click it. You have time for 1 action. So now we made it in without the spears, but technically we are locked in now. But we do have a skull this time, which makes all the difference. Because now we can jam the skull in there, and it makes this stop. So now we can actually move forward a little bit, but the door is closed to us now because we took out the skull, or we didn't even put it in this case, at the very entrance on the left side. It opened up the first door and the second door. So we can't progress. But we get over here, and we get to the skull from the spear room, and it's the same description. This guy almost made it. This basically was us earlier. Now that we have this extra skull, we can take this out. Maybe I should have left that one in. Actually, no, I need it. Because now with this, I can now hold this door open, because this one only holds the back door. Now that I have this extra skull, we still leave this one because it's still holding the first spears. This opens both doors here and there. This opens up the first door, but it's already being held open. So we have the extra skull. And now put this back to hold the second set of spears. So now we have that one holding both doors open, first set of spears, second set of spears. We can fully walk through now. It's a simple little puzzle. The main sticking point is realizing that in the first room, you have to take a leap of faith and carry the skull with you and get locked inside, but be willing to solve the puzzle to ultimately get out anyways.
Tezcatlipoca was one of the most feared gods. His name means smoking mirror. They called him that because in addition to being a fierce warrior, he was also known for his pranks and illusions. Kind of the Mayan Doug Henning.
The war god Tezcatlipoca. What did I say? Yeah, you know what I mean.
This chamber seems to be set up as a prayer room. There's an image of the god directly opposite his altar, but no signs of blood to suggest that the altar is used in sacrifices, which means that it's probably used for more benign offerings. If I had a nose, I believe I would smell incense.
So with this, we claim our prize, which is an obsidian block. This is a pyramid-shaped block of obsidian. We don't know what this is for yet, but clearly it's important, so we'll take it. Now that we have this and the puzzle is solved, we can go ahead and get out of here. The door is closed in the very front here, but now that we've solved the puzzle and all that, we can leave. And actually, now that I think about it, we might have been able to leave if we were to have used the arrow, come in. I think this is where actually you could then leave, but because you spent up the arrow and you did spend it correctly, it's, I think, then permanently gone from the game. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, just don't leave once you've gone in until you've solved the temple. So, let's go ahead and head on over to this temple side now.
Gage, relax. It's a door.
Hey man, I can't relax down here. I just don't feel comfortable here, alright? Now, I'm trying to think, how much more do we want to go? Because there's still quite a bit for this time zone. I'm thinking that I actually want to... I think, you know what? We'll go ahead, because this next one I know it's coming up, and I don't want to do this one just yet. So let's go ahead and make a save here. We'll go ahead and call this a part of part. What are we on? Part 7 now? Okay. I won't say how many are done, but we have one of the temples done, and more to go. And then we'll see what's at the end of these caverns when we get down there. Anyways, that's it for this one, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.